Hi, Maria. It's great to
Hi,
see
hi,
you.
Leslie.
Thanks
How
so
are
much
you?
for joining me. We're going to talk about being an art teacher in public schools in the middle of a pandemic, which all three of those things, art teacher, the schools, pandemic, those challenges, Maria, my real admiration for what
Thanks.
at this point. It's
Yeah,
tremendous.
thank you.
Where are you a teacher? Can you tell us?
I'm a teacher at the Corning Paint and Post Middle School in Corning.
And how long have you been teaching? How long have you been doing this?
Um, I have been teaching over 25 years. I've taught pre-K through 12, and currently I'm teaching 6th through 8th grade.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember just a couple of years ago, or maybe it was more than just a couple of years ago, you graduated from teaching on a cart to having a classroom. Is that
Yes.
right? I remember there was a teaching
Yes.
on a cart situation that used to be going on.
Yes. I was teaching on a cart for, I don't know, 6 to 8 years. I can't remember. But now I am.
What does that mean, teaching on a cart?
Well, you load up a cart with a lot of art supplies and you travel door to different classes and teach in the other teachers' classrooms, or in the
Really,
cafeteria, or sometimes in the hallway, or wherever you can find space. So
that's a lot of work.
it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. But the nice
So
thing is I was in between two buildings, and so you always, when you were traveling, got a chance to get some fresh air as you went back and forth between buildings. So there was positives.
well, that's nice. That's a
Yeah.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me more about teaching art. What is it that got you into that, and what's so important about having art in schools?
Um, Art has always been a part of my life. Like, it's always been a passion. It's always been a best friend since as long as I can remember. When I was little, my family had a cottage at Cuckoo Lake, and the cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody would gather there each weekend, and we'd always hang out together. And on rainy weekends, my cousin and I would always just be busy making art if we weren't swimming. And I remember when we were younger, on rainy days, we would be making a lot of art, and we would go down to the Lower Lake Road and try to set up a little art gallery and try to sell our work. Meanwhile, on the Lower Lake Road, nobody goes for a walk unless it's like maybe after dinner. So there's not a lot of foot traffic to try to sell your artwork. But I always knew since I was really young that art was going to be a part of my life. I just had to figure out as I was getting older how art would be a part of my life. And I really like working a lot of different art media. So I realized that when it comes to teaching, I can cover painting, I could cover drawing, I could cover sculpture, I can just cover a lot of different areas and share that love of art with others. And so that's kind of how I became an art teacher.
And so what do you teach sixth grade through eighth grade?
Yes.
What is going on with kids at that time? And full disclosure, I have a ninth grader and a fifth grader, so I'm right bracketing that. Uh,
I've
what
taught elementary, mainly elementary through middle school and a little bit of high school, but and I love every grade I've taught. So let me just start with that. I love all the grades I've taught, but my heart definitely is in middle school, because what I love about middle school art is it's such a time of change for kids. They're trying to figure out who they are, trying to figure out their place in the world. They're trying to figure out their belief system and becoming much more independent than they were in elementary. And I think art is a huge vehicle to help kids through difficult years. And so I think that that's one big reason why I absolutely love teaching middle school art, because by the time they hit middle school, they sometimes will either think they're great artists or they have the mentality that they're not a good artist. And to help them discover what they can do with a little bit of help and a little bit of motivation is just very empowering for kids that age.
And I imagine then that translates into other areas of performance too. If they can feel successful in their artwork, then that can give them strength and confidence in other places too.
Yes, there are definitely kids that I think will sometimes give other teachers a hard time. And then when we have certain staff meetings, a name will be brought up and I'll be like, I love that kid. And they look at me but it's a student that just shines in art where they might not have figured out how to shine elsewhere, you know? So I love, it's a good gig. I'm very lucky. I have one of the best jobs you could ever have, because um, they, you know, not only am I helping the kids, but they are such great teachers for me. I learn something new every day. They're a huge inspiration.
That's tremendous. Okay, so now let's fast forward to, for the last 2 months, you've been teaching art, not even in your classroom, but virtually like this through a screen.
Yeah.
How does that work, Maria?
Um, it's it's a bit frustrating. It's definitely sad. I really miss the kids. There's always going to be a small percentage that I haven't heard from. And I've tried to call and email, and there's situations where there are children that are, you know, they might have 6 other siblings. They have one computer to share, or just a couple laptops, but poor internet capabilities. And I'm always feeling like I'm not doing enough, like I should be doing more. So that's an unsettling feeling. I think a lot of teachers are feeling that way. Um, it's definitely frustrating, but I try to put on, I have Google Classrooms, and the kids will see the assignments on the Google Classroom. I try to post some different videos that relate to the assignment. I try to post a lot of examples that are very, very different, so kids aren't locked into one particular idea. Like, for instance, this week with digital art for 8th grade, they have to do an abstract digital collage. But I gave 8 different examples of digital collages that are completely different from one another. So they have a lot of options, and hopefully something will spark their interest, and then they can transfer that into their own artwork. And if they don't have the capabilities or the internet, then they can do things on paper as well. So I give them those choices. So
This
it's
sounds
different.
like, it sounds like a lot of work to me.
It,
It sounds like you're doing a whole lot of preparation and work that maybe you wouldn't have had to do if you were teaching in person.
it's definitely a lot more prep work. It's definitely strange to try to find boundaries. Like, I am finding myself, and I'm getting better with it, but I'll like reply to a kid at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, you know, I can wait till the morning. I don't have to reply now. But at the same time, it's like, oh, this is somebody I haven't heard from for a while. If I can reply back and forth to them and even make it a little email conversation, I'm going to reply. So it's hard to try to stop work, you know, or it's just very different, you know, with the timing. It could be, you know, my own kids are sleeping in late, so I know a lot of kids are sleeping in late and then doing work later on. So trying to find that balance has been strange.
Especially if part of your job now is to go out there and reach the kids who aren't maybe coming to class, right? I mean,
Right.
before, when we had school buildings that you were in, there was a school bus to go pick up the children and bring them to the school, and then there was, you know, a whole system in place to make sure that they showed up in the classroom. But now, if the child doesn't turn on the computer or can't, like you described, you know, maybe a child has a bunch of siblings that need the computer right then, and they just can't
Yeah. Yeah.
you,
And you
then
just don't
you
know
have
the
to go get
situation.
them.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
just don't know the situation for each child. I mean, well, you do, but you don't. I mean, there's parents that are working and they're trying to make the best of it, but there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much you can do. So it's difficult for everybody.
Well, I know in my house it's complicated. I imagine each family has their own complications, and I'm pretty fortunate. We have good internet service where I live, and we're able to run, you know, my husband and I are each working from home, and our 2 kids are each doing their Google Meets
Right.
for
Right.
school. You're in Corning. I'm in a different school system, but we use Google Meet too, and we're able to run enough internet so that all 4 of us can be on our conferences at the same time. But I think there's a lot of people who live in places where that's just not possible. You just don't have enough service to be able to run everybody at the same time.
Yeah, and for Corning, for at least the middle school and high school, the kids were able to take their Chromebooks home. So they have those at home, but if they don't have any internet access, you know, are they driving with their parents when they have the opportunity to McDonald's to try to get the Wi-Fi there to get, I mean, it's just it's a very difficult setup. And I think it's really important to keep in mind that everybody's situation is so very different. So I am happy with the number of kids that I am connecting with, but there is just that small percentage that you can't help but worry about.
So how can we as a community support you in this situation? How can we do what we need to do to help you reach as many students as you're able to reach?
I think a great thing would be to maybe if people wanted to donate art supplies, I think that if they were to drop them off at the schools or call the school district where they live to see how they could drop off art supplies. I myself have been bringing different art supplies to different kids off and on throughout this whole event. And so I usually will
Wait a
just
minute,
go
wait a
out.
minute, let me stop that. Okay, so not only are you trying to access them to the screen, but you're getting in your car and driving and dropping off.
Well, yeah, because, you know, like for instance, there was one
Amazing.
kiddo whose mom reached out and they had just lost their job and her daughter's birthday was coming up and she couldn't celebrate with anyone. So yeah, I'm going to give her a sketchbook and some markers and colored pencils and drop them off on her birthday because it just doesn't make sense not to. So, and usually I'll pick up some things when I go grocery shopping, but art supply donations would be a huge help. And like I said, if people are not sure in their particular district where to drop them off, I would just call the district office and find out. And I'm sure that there will be ways that they can be distributed to kids that need them.
Great suggestion. Okay, so let's donate art supplies so that the children can participate if they can get online.
Yeah.
And what other things should we be paying attention to? You know, it's unclear how much longer this is going to go on. You know, they're sort of up in the air. I know that there's an end date now to the school year for this year, but you know, it's a little fuzzy for going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for people to remember that all these different feelings of stress or anxiety or uncertainty or just this unrest that you might feel, I think that kids have the same feelings. But you know, my son and daughter, who are my older two, who are 17 and 14, told me the other day that, you know, they have, at least the parents have some kind of control, where kids have even less control in a way of you know, having whatever freedom they feel they need. I think it's really important to remember that. For a little while, I was taking art therapy classes, and once upon a time, I was considering changing careers and going into art therapy. And I'm glad I didn't, but I'm glad I took the classes because there really are ways to make art very therapeutic. And during times like this, when you're struggling to cope, and this is just not for students, but for adults as well, if you take out a sketchbook and just start doodling a little bit, it really can ease your mind, getting your hands moving and doing something creative and artistic. So I think that's important to remember too.
That's great to know. That's great to think about.
Yeah.
I think you have some student artwork that you want to share with us, and tell us, Maria, that you're going to be sharing this student artwork through the Corning Museum of Glass. Is that right?
Well, yes. Every year, let me put this on. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get
That's
to
okay.
it.
No.
Every year, the Corning Museum of Glass will do, can you see some of the slides?
Yes.
Okay, good. The Corning Museum of Glass holds this great art show that's kindergarten through 12th grade. And it's very unique, and not a lot of school districts can do that because they don't have such a large space like we do at the CMOG to put the show together. So the artwork is hung up from kindergarten through 12th grade teachers. It usually is hung up for a week, and it showcases an amazing range of work. And unfortunately this year we could not do that. So I'm putting together a bunch of slideshows from various schools. And one of the elementary art teachers, Amanda Fogarty, very cutely put the school color on the background of the slides. So I'm going through these different slides, and different teachers have sent me photos of student work. And we're going to be putting this presentation together. One of the high school students, Samantha Ward, is actually going to be taking the slideshow and setting it to music for us. And we're going to have this on display on the district webpage. so that people can get a chance to see some student work, even if they couldn't go in person to the CMOG to see the work. We're trying to still bring that to the community and bring that to the kids who are looking forward to being in the show. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to have all the elementary schools represented up through 8th grade. The high school is going to be doing something a little different in the fall. So just really exciting to be able to share this work. Here's some 6th grade sculptural work. Just
Wait, go back to those 6th grade sculptures. Is that wire that they've made?
Oh, yes, I did that this year with the kiddos. Where is that? Yeah, they did wire sculptures. So they turned out pretty
tremendous.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, they did really a nice job. Look at this one.
So CPP Middle School's color is black, and so that's why there's the black background there?
Well, actually, they have 3 houses. They have, you could be either in the house that's the gold house, the white house, or the black house, or teams, you want to say. So I made sure to try to incorporate all those colors.
That's so neat.
But there's just so many different great pieces that we had saved for the art show that was normally taking place at the CMOG. And so to still try to showcase that student work, I'm kind of working on this presentation, like I said, with one of the high school students, so that we can get this up and running and showcase. There's some of the more digital art there, but showcase some of the students' work. So there's just so much that, like I was saying earlier with the students in middle school, how they're trying to find themselves. This particular project was about personal convictions and what they believe in and alternative realities. I mean, look at how amazing these look. You know, it just, the kids have such a strong presence and they have such strong opinions. It's so important to listen to what they have to say, because what they have to say is pretty amazing. You know, it's absolutely amazing. So here's some stained glass work done by 8th grade. Just really excited to be able to take the work that would normally be at the CMOG and still be able to share it with the community.
And so, okay, explain again how this is going to be distributed out to the community. Where can people go to view this?
So I'm hoping in a couple of weeks, once this gets done, it'll definitely be at the district website, the Corning district website. It'll be on Corning's social media pages. I am hoping that it'll also be on the Corning Museum of Glass website. So I'm still working on that and figuring out how that will work. But it's definitely going to be at the Corning district website, as well as on social media for Corning School District.
This is just tremendous. I'm so glad that these students who've worked, I mean, this is hard work to put together these stained glass.
It is. It's very hard work, and it's a lot of hours.
I'm so glad that they're going to get to be displayed, even though we can't do the presentation at CMOG now.
Yeah, yeah, so am I. I think it's going to turn out really well. So
these are just beautiful.
Yeah.
So CPP Middle School is where you're teaching.
Yes. Yep. I'm at the middle school.
And but then you had kids from elementary school. I think I saw Frederick Carter was there. And
yes, I'm on the last slide. I'm going to make sure to do a little special thanks to the teachers that are at the different elementary schools, as well as the teachers that took place at the middle school. So also, there is a little side note. Miss Telehany, who was a teacher, the art teacher at Carter and Smith School, has been teaching over 30 years. I'm not sure how many years she's told me, but I can't remember right now. She is an amazing asset to the district, and she's retiring. And I was thinking about that. This is what a way to end your career, retiring in the middle of all this, you know, and she wasn't able to say goodbye to her kids. So she deserves this special recognition as well. She's an amazing teacher. She's inspired for years. And so I want to make sure that she gets some recognition for that, you know.
Yeah, that's just wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
It is amazing how many different ways the pandemic is affecting people. I think about the students who were graduating from high school, the students who are transitioning from high school. All those transition moments are happening kind of in the dark right now.
Yeah. That's hard. There's so many different factors, but yeah, there's definitely different things you can do as an educator to make kids smile through these hard times. I think it's always important to just do that and do as much as you can for them.
Well, I appreciate Maria, but we need to make sure that we're doing as much as we can for you too. The amount of time and energy, just because the school buildings are closed doesn't mean that school is closed, and you're having
No, not at all.
time
Yeah,
and
teachers are
work in
working
there.
hard.
So I am personally very grateful to you for what you're doing. I think it makes a huge difference in children's lives to have at least some continuity in this really chaotic time.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Okay, and folks, I hope you'll consider going out to your school district and donating some art supplies so that we can uh, keep art teacher Goldwyn in business and
There you go.
reaching the children as much as possible. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That sounds great.
Thanks for taking the time to share this with us. It was wonderful to learn about.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.